At 2:13 in the morning, my wife placed our marriage certificate on the kitchen island and told me to choose between her and the woman sleeping in our guest room. Riley Hart stood 6 feet away with a packed suitcase beside her ankle. Her face was pale, her dark hair still damp from the rain, and one side of her mouth was swollen where Vanessa had slapped her less than an hour earlier. Vanessa looked almost perfect. That was her talent. She could turn a disaster into a presentation before anyone else understood what had happened. Her blonde hair was tied back in a clean knot. She wore the cream sweater I had given her for our 5th anniversary. On the counter beside her sat 2 envelopes, a fountain pen, and a glass of wine she had not touched. One envelope contained divorce papers. The other contained a statement saying Riley had seduced both of us, stolen confidential files from Vanessa's company, and invented allegations of fraud after I rejected her. Vanessa touched the second envelope with one red-painted fingernail. "Sign this, Ethan, and we can still save our marriage." Riley's hand tightened around the handle of her suitcase. "Don't sign it," she said. Her voice shook, but she did not look away. "She used my password to approve the reports. I can prove it." Vanessa smiled as though Riley were an employee who had misunderstood a meeting agenda. "She has been living in our home for 10 weeks. She has been wearing my clothes, eating our food, following you around, and inserting herself into our marriage. Now she wants you to believe she is the victim." Riley flinched. Vanessa saw it and pressed harder. "She wants my job. She wants my house. And apparently, she wants my husband." The refrigerator hummed behind me. Rain tapped against the windows. Somewhere upstairs, a pipe knocked inside the wall 3 times, the same harmless sound that had woken me during winter for years. Everything familiar in the house had become evidence. Vanessa pushed the fountain pen toward me. "Choose me." Riley's eyes filled. Then she said the same words. "Choose me." Vanessa gave a short, victorious laugh. Riley shook her head. "No. Not like that." She looked at me. "Choose whether you believe the woman who needs you frightened, or the woman who is finally telling you the truth." 10 weeks earlier, I would have signed anything Vanessa placed in front of me. 5 years of marriage had trained me to treat her confidence as competence and her certainty as proof. She negotiated contracts for a pharmaceutical distributor, managed 3 states, and could turn a room full of angry executives into people thanking her for taking their money. I admired that about her. I had not understood that she practiced the same skill at home. I picked up the pen. Vanessa relaxed. Riley closed her eyes. I uncapped the pen, drew a line through the statement, and wrote 4 words across the page. "I choose the truth." Vanessa's expression did not collapse all at once. It changed by degrees. The smile disappeared. Her shoulders stiffened. Her eyes moved from the paper to my face, searching for the reliable man she had always been able to redirect with one soft apology and a better explanation. He was still there. He was simply no longer available to her. I placed the pen on the counter. "Riley, you're leaving tonight." Her face fell. Vanessa's smile returned. Then I continued. "You're going to a hotel under your own name, and I'm paying for 3 nights because you are not safe here. Tomorrow, you give the evidence to an attorney who does not work for Vanessa's company." I turned toward my wife. "You're leaving too." Vanessa stared at me. "This is my house." "Our house," I said. "And tonight, neither of us is staying in it." Her eyes narrowed. "You think you can walk away from me after everything I gave you?" I looked at the 2 envelopes. At Riley's bruised mouth. At the marriage certificate Vanessa had placed on the counter like a deed proving ownership. "I think I should have walked away the first time you asked another human being to carry the consequences of your choices." Vanessa's hand moved toward the wineglass. For 1 second, I thought she might throw it. Instead, she laughed. It was a quiet, almost affectionate sound. "You still don't know what happened," she said. "You only know the version she rehearsed." Riley looked at me. "I didn't rehearse anything." Vanessa leaned across the island. "Then tell him why you were in our bedroom wearing my robe the night he came home early." The room went silent. That was where the story had begun. Or perhaps it had begun 10 weeks earlier, when my wife called me from work and asked whether her female coworker could stay with us for a few days. Vanessa called while I was boarding a flight in Denver. "Riley's apartment flooded," she said. "The ceiling collapsed over her bed. Her landlord says repairs could take a week." I had heard Riley's name before. She was a compliance analyst on Vanessa's regional team, 28, recently transferred from Ohio, quiet but excellent with data. According to Vanessa, she was brilliant and socially helpless. "Doesn't she have friends?" I asked. "She moved here 6 months ago." "What about a hotel?" "She can't afford 10 nights downtown, and corporate housing needs 3 approvals. We have a guest room." I looked at the line of passengers moving toward the plane. "Is she comfortable with that?" "Why wouldn't she be?" It was a small question, but Vanessa's irritation entered her voice immediately. She disliked resistance most when she had disguised a decision as a request. "I'm asking whether you asked her," I said. "She is standing beside me." A pause followed. Then a softer voice came through the phone. "Mr. Cole, I can find something else. I don't want to inconvenience you. Call me Ethan. And you're not inconveniencing me if everyone agrees." Vanessa laughed. "See? Solved." By the time I returned 2 days later, Riley had moved into our guest room. She had placed her shoes neatly beside the bed, kept her toiletries inside a travel bag, and bought a basket of groceries even though Vanessa told her not to. The first evening, she cooked pasta for all 3 of us and apologized because the sauce came from a jar. "It's dinner," I told her. "Not a citizenship test." She smiled, but her eyes moved toward Vanessa before the expression fully formed. I noticed. I did not understand it. Riley was attractive in a way she seemed determined to minimize. Dark hair usually tied low at her neck. Large brown eyes. Plain blouses, black trousers, no jewelry except a thin silver ring on her right hand. She moved through the house like a person staying in a museum after closing, careful not to touch anything or leave proof that she had occupied space. Vanessa was the opposite. She filled every room she entered. Within 3 days, she had reorganized Riley's clothes, replaced her drugstore shampoo with expensive bottles, and announced that Riley needed a better professional look. She brought home dresses from a department store and made Riley model them in the living room. Riley looked uncomfortable. Vanessa looked delighted. "You have a waist," she said, tightening a belt around Riley. "Stop dressing like an apology." Riley laughed weakly. I said, "She can dress however she wants." Vanessa looked at me. "I'm helping." Riley immediately said, "It's okay." The speed of the answer bothered me. That night, after Riley went upstairs, I asked Vanessa whether the situation at work was more complicated than a flooded apartment. "What do you mean?" "She watches you before answering." Vanessa poured wine. "She's anxious. Her last manager bullied her." "Then maybe don't turn her into a project." Vanessa handed me a glass. "You like her?" The accusation arrived wearing a smile. "I barely know her." "You notice her? She lives in our house." Vanessa curled against me on the sofa. "I think it's sweet." "What is?" "That you want to protect people." At the time, I heard affection. Later, I understood the sentence differently. Vanessa was not jealous yet. She was measuring the distance between Riley's vulnerability and my sympathy. She was learning how much pressure the triangle could hold. The promised week became 2. The landlord claimed hidden water damage. Corporate housing remained in review. Riley offered to move into a budget motel near the airport. Vanessa rejected it before I could speak. "You're not staying somewhere unsafe. I can manage." "No." Ethan agrees. Both women looked at me. I did not agree because Vanessa had decided for me. I agreed because Riley looked exhausted. "Stay until the apartment is ready," I said. Vanessa smiled. Riley thanked us 3 times. By the 4th week, her books appeared on the guest room shelf. Her coffee mug sat beside ours. A blue cardigan hung over the chair near the dining table. She was no longer exactly a guest. She was not family either. She existed in the uncertain space Vanessa had created for her, close enough to depend on us, temporary enough to be reminded she could lose everything. I traveled 3 nights most weeks for a consulting firm that managed hospital construction projects. While I was gone, Vanessa and Riley commuted together, ate together, and often worked late at the dining table. When I returned, Vanessa told me stories. Riley had cried after a difficult meeting. Riley had never had a stable relationship. Riley thought I was kind. Riley asked whether Vanessa worried about women flirting with me during business trips. Each detail felt personal enough to make me uncomfortable and harmless enough to dismiss. When I asked Riley directly how work was going, she became guarded. "Fine. Vanessa says the new audit has been rough." Riley looked toward the kitchen, where Vanessa was opening a bottle of wine. "It's manageable." Vanessa called from the other room. "Riley never complains. It's one of her problems." Riley smiled. The smile looked practiced. I should have asked why. Instead, I allowed the evening to continue. Vanessa did not lie in obvious ways. She arranged facts until the truth pointed in the direction she preferred. To me, she described Riley as fragile, lonely, and increasingly dependent on our household. To Riley, I later learned, she described me as dissatisfied, emotionally neglected, and too loyal to admit I wanted a different life. Neither version was entirely invented. That was what made them powerful. I was dissatisfied. Vanessa and I had spent the previous year living beside each other rather than together. Our conversations concerned flights, groceries, utility bills, and which family we would disappoint during the holidays. Physical affection had become scheduled or strategic. Arguments ended when Vanessa grew bored, not when anything was resolved. I was also loyal. I believed marriage was not a constant feeling but a series of decisions made after the exciting feelings changed shape. Vanessa knew that. She began using Riley as a translator for things she no longer wanted to say herself. One Friday, I came home after midnight and found a plate covered in foil inside the refrigerator. A note on top read, "Heated at 350. Riley made the potatoes. I supervised the wine. The food was still warm. Riley entered the kitchen in pajamas while I was eating. "Sorry," she said. "I heard the microwave." "You don't need to apologize for walking through the kitchen." She poured water. "Vanessa said your flight was delayed." It was. "She worries when you don't answer." I looked at her. "I texted her." Riley's expression changed. "She said you forgot." I showed her the message on my phone. Landed. Waiting for gate. Home around 12:30. Love you. Riley looked embarrassed. She must have missed it. She replied with a heart. The silence between us lasted 2 seconds too long. Riley placed the glass in the sink. Good night. The next morning, Vanessa told me Riley had waited up because she was developing a crush. She practically ran downstairs when she heard you. She came for water. Vanessa smiled over her coffee. You are so easy to fool. Is that what she told you? No. I have eyes. Later that day, Riley avoided me. The pattern repeated. Vanessa told me Riley asked what type of women I found attractive. Riley told me Vanessa said I felt trapped by conventional marriage. Vanessa told Riley I had once discussed an open relationship. I had not. Riley did not reveal that conversation until much later. At the time, she believed Vanessa because Vanessa knew details about our private life. Arguments. Dry months. My frustration with travel. Vanessa mixed real information with invented conclusions until Riley could no longer tell which parts one had actually said. Meanwhile, Vanessa created small moments between us and then watched them. She asked Riley to ride with me to the hardware store because she had a migraine. She bought concert tickets, then claimed a client emergency and insisted Riley use hers. She encouraged Riley to wear a red dress to a company charity dinner and told me privately that Riley chose it because I liked red. At the dinner, Riley spent most of the evening helping an older accountant find his hearing aid. On the drive home, she said, "I'm sorry if tonight was strange." Why would it be? She looked out the window. Vanessa said you might be uncomfortable going with me. She told me you were uncomfortable going with me. Riley turned. For the first time, we both saw the same crack. Neither of us pushed it open. She probably worried about appearances, Riley said. Probably. The answer was easier than the alternative. Vanessa welcomed us home wearing a satin robe and holding champagne. You look like you had fun. Her eyes moved from Riley's dress to my face. I felt as though we had returned from a test neither of us knew we were taking. 2 weeks later, Riley's apartment repairs were supposedly complete. She packed that morning. By evening, Vanessa had convinced her to stay another month. The neighborhood is terrible, Vanessa told me. There have been break-ins. Riley stood behind her with the same guarded expression. You already signed another lease? I asked. Riley shook her head. Vanessa said I should wait. I looked at my wife. You told her not to sign? I told her not to rush into a bad situation. Where does she want to live? Vanessa's smile thinned. Why are you interrogating her? I'm asking Riley. Riley looked between us. I don't know. That answer was the first real warning. 10 weeks earlier, Riley had possessed an apartment, a job, and a plan. Now every decision passed through Vanessa. I asked to speak with Riley alone. Vanessa laughed. That's inappropriate. Riley immediately said, It's fine. I'll stay a little longer. The subject closed. But that evening, I found a sticky note on the floor near the guest room. It contained 3 lines in Riley's handwriting. What I remember. What Vanessa says happened. What I can prove. The rest of the page was blank. I placed it on the desk where she would find it. I did not ask about it. I should have. The night I came home early, I was supposed to be in Dallas until the following afternoon. A mechanical problem canceled the client meeting. I changed flights, landed before 6, and stopped at a Thai restaurant Vanessa liked. I texted her from the airport. Flight changed. Home tonight. Bringing dinner. The message showed delivered but unread. That was unusual. Vanessa slept with her phone in her hand. When I reached the house, Riley's car was in the driveway and Vanessa's was not. I assumed she had gone to the gym. The front door was unlocked. Music played upstairs. A woman laughed, then stopped abruptly. I placed the takeout on the kitchen counter and noticed 2 wineglasses. One had Vanessa's lipstick on the rim. The other sat almost full. A pair of black heels rested at the bottom of the stairs. They belonged to Vanessa. I called her name. No answer. The music stopped. 30 seconds later, Vanessa entered the upstairs hall wearing the dark blue robe I had bought her for Christmas. She did not look surprised enough. "You're home." I texted. "My phone is downstairs." It was on the nightstand behind her. I could see the charging cable. Riley appeared in the doorway to our bedroom. She wore an ivory robe that belonged to Vanessa. Her face was pale. Her hair was tangled. She held the robe closed at her throat with both hands. The scene arranged itself in my mind. I did not shout. I did not ask the first question anger offered. I walked downstairs, opened the takeout containers, and sat at the kitchen table. Vanessa followed. Riley remained at the top of the stairs. "Ethan," Vanessa said. I filled a plate with noodles and chicken. "You came home early." That is usually how surprises work. She sat across from me. "This is not what it looks like." Riley came down slowly and stopped near the doorway. I looked at her. She would not meet my eyes. Vanessa reached for Riley's hand. Riley pulled away. The movement was small. It changed everything. Vanessa saw me notice. Her strategy shifted. She smiled. "Maybe this can be a good thing." Riley's head snapped toward her. "Vanessa. We've talked about wanting something different." "No," I said. Vanessa ignored me. "Riley cares about both of us. We care about her. We don't need to make this ugly because you walked in before we were ready." I placed my fork down. "Ready for what?" Vanessa leaned toward me. "For honesty." Riley whispered, "You said he knew." The words were almost too quiet to hear. Vanessa's face hardened. "I said we had discussed possibilities. You said he wanted this." I looked at Riley. "Wanted what?" Tears filled her eyes. Vanessa answered first. "A relationship that includes her." The house became very quiet. I looked at my wife. "Did you sleep with her?" Vanessa held my gaze. "Yes." Riley covered her face. "How long?" 2 weeks. Riley said, 3 times. Vanessa turned on her. "Stop talking like you were not there." Riley lowered her hands. "You told me he agreed. I told you he had fantasies. You said he asked you to make it happen." Vanessa's voice sharpened. "And you believed me because you wanted him to." Riley flinched as though struck. I stood. Both women froze. "I'm not going to yell," I said. "Riley, get dressed in your own clothes." Vanessa crossed her arms. "This is dramatic. You lied to both of us. I tried to give you something most men would appreciate. You offered me another person as a distraction from the fact that you cheated. She is not a distraction." Riley looked at Vanessa. The pain in her face was unmistakable. Vanessa saw it and looked away. I went to the kitchen and poured water. My hands remained steady until I placed the glass on the counter. Then they shook once. Vanessa followed me. "You're gone half the week." "I work. And I am alone." "You could have told me." "I did." "No. You complained about my schedule and then dismissed every solution because the income paid for this house." She leaned closer. "You think I don't know what happens in hotel bars? I eat bad food and answer emails." "The woman in Phoenix?" "My client's architect. She is 62. "The waitress in Austin?" "Her dog died. I bought her nachos because she was crying." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You expect me to believe that?" "No," I said. "That is another problem. She had cheated because she believed I did. Or she had decided I cheated because it made her choices easier to justify. Either version ended in the same place." Riley returned wearing jeans and a gray sweater. She carried the borrowed robe folded over one arm. She placed it on the sofa. "I'm sorry," she said to me. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Do not perform innocence now. Riley looked at her. You told me he would be happy. You wanted to believe it. Yes, Riley said. Because you were my boss. My friend. The person letting me live in your house. You made every option feel like something I owed you. Vanessa went still. The sentence exposed a structure I had only begun to see. I asked Riley, why did you think I knew? She hesitated. Then she opened the guest room desk drawer and brought me a printed email. The message appeared to come from my personal account. I had never written it. It said I trusted Vanessa to invite Riley into our marriage when the moment felt right. The signature included a phrase I used often. Keep it simple. Vanessa had access to my laptop. I looked at her. She did not deny it. It was supposed to make the conversation easier. You forged an email from me. I knew how you would react if I asked directly. That should have told you not to do it. Vanessa's composure cracked. You are so painfully ordinary, Ethan. Do you know that? You make everything a moral test because you are terrified of wanting anything complicated. I looked at Riley. She was crying silently. This is not complicated, I said. It is dishonest. I told Riley to call a hotel. Vanessa objected. She stays here. Riley shook her head. I'm leaving. You cannot afford it. I'll figure it out. Vanessa's voice became softer. You don't have anyone else. Riley's face changed. That was the chain Vanessa had built. Not romance. Isolation. I paid for Riley's hotel with my card and called a ride. Before she left, she looked at Vanessa. I thought you loved me. Vanessa answered after a pause. I did. Riley gave a broken laugh. No. You loved having someone who could not say no. The door closed behind her. Vanessa and I stood in the living room surrounded by untouched Thai food and the remains of our marriage. Then she said the sentence that changed the scandal into something larger. This worked before. I thought I had misheard her. What worked before? Vanessa's face went pale. I didn't mean. How many times? She turned away. I followed her into the living room. How many women? This is not an interrogation. It became one when you admitted a pattern. Vanessa wrapped both arms around herself. 2. Including Riley? No. 3 women. The number did not produce the explosion of anger I expected. It created a quiet internal closing. A door settling into its frame. Who? You don't know them. Coworkers? She did not answer. That was enough. What happened when I didn't catch you? It ended. Did you tell them I knew? Vanessa looked at the floor. I understood. The same structure. A vulnerable employee. Emotional intimacy. The claim that her husband approved. Then secrecy. If discovery threatened, Vanessa could offer the other woman to me and call it openness. Did either of them lose her job? Vanessa's silence became heavier. One transferred. And the other? She resigned. After you wrote her performance review? That had nothing to do with us. I laughed once. Vanessa looked wounded. You think I'm a monster. I think you chose people who depended on you. They were adults. So is Riley. That does not erase the power you had over her. Vanessa's eyes hardened. You are defending her very quickly. I am recognizing what happened. She wanted you. Maybe she did. You built the situation until wanting anything became proof that she deserved what you did. Vanessa started crying. The tears were real. That did not make the explanation true. I was lonely, she said. I sat in the chair across from her. Then why not leave me? Because I loved you. Did you like me? The question stopped her. I had loved Vanessa for years. I believed she loved me in the way she understood love, intensely when I reflected the image she wanted, impatiently when I did not. But liking someone required curiosity about who they were when they stopped being useful. When did you stop liking me? I asked. She shook her head. I never stopped. You mocked my work, resented my travel, assumed I cheated, and built a second life in our house. You may have loved having me. That isn't the same. Vanessa wiped her face. We can repair this. No. You haven't even tried. I spent 5 years trying to be reliable enough that you would feel safe. You used reliability as permission to take greater risks. She stood. You cannot throw away a marriage in one night. You did not break it in one night. I packed a bag. Vanessa followed me from room to room, changing strategies every few minutes. She apologized. She accused. She reminded me of vacations, family holidays, the year my father died, and the time she sat beside me in the hospital after surgery. Those memories were real. So was the forged email. Both could exist. At the front door, she blocked my path. If you leave, she wins. This is not a competition. It is to her. No. It is to you. Vanessa stepped aside. I spent the night at an airport hotel because every other room nearby was booked for a convention. At 4:40 in the morning, Riley called. I almost ignored it. Then I remembered her face when Vanessa said she had no one else. I answered. Riley was whispering. I'm sorry. I found something. What? Reports from work. Vanessa used my login to approve compliance releases. The signatures are mine, but I didn't submit them. Can you prove that? I think so. The access times were while I was at your house. One was the night she gave me wine and told me to sleep in her room because I was upset. I sat up. What kind of reports? Distribution records for controlled medication. Inventory discrepancies. If the reports are false, people could go to prison. Where are you? The hotel. Stay there. Do not call Vanessa. Do not log into the company system again. She knows I copied files. How? She came to the room. I was already standing. Is she there now? No. Security made her leave. Did she threaten you? Riley paused. She said if I accused her, she would tell everyone I slept with both of you to get promoted. The choice Vanessa placed before us became clear. Marriage was only one piece. She needed Riley discredited before the company discovered the fraud. And she needed me to confirm the story. That was why she had forged the email. That was why she had moved Riley into our home. If the compliance scheme collapsed, Riley would look like a jealous subordinate who had crossed every professional boundary. Vanessa had not invited her coworker to stay because she was generous. She had brought the witness into a controlled environment. I told Riley to call an employment attorney. She said she could not afford one. I know someone, I said. I did not. But I knew how to find one. By sunrise, I had contacted a former client whose wife specialized in whistleblower cases. At 8, I met Riley in the hotel lobby. She had not slept. A bruise darkened along her wrist where Vanessa had grabbed her during the confrontation. Riley placed a flash drive on the table between us. This is everything I copied. I did not touch it. Give it directly to the attorney. You don't want to see? No. Why? Because if this becomes a legal case, I do not want Vanessa claiming I altered evidence. Riley stared at me. You believe me. I believe something is wrong. The evidence decides the rest. Her eyes filled. That is more than anyone else has said. I ordered breakfast. Riley tried to refuse. You haven't eaten. How do you know? You are holding coffee with both hands to stop them shaking. She looked down. I'm sorry about what happened. So am I. I did care about you. The confession sat between us. Riley continued before I could respond. I won't pretend Vanessa invented every feeling. She didn't. But she gave me a story in which caring about you was safe because you already knew. I was wrong. I'm married. I know. We need boundaries. I know. She sounded ashamed. I kept my voice gentle. Shame will not help you tell the truth. Clear facts will. Riley nodded. The attorney arrived 20 minutes later. By noon, the case had begun. Vanessa moved faster than the lawyers expected. By the end of the day, her company had placed Riley on administrative leave for unauthorized access to confidential systems. By evening, Vanessa had filed a police report claiming Riley stole jewelry from our house. At 9, she posted a carefully worded statement on social media about the devastating consequences of welcoming a troubled employee into a private home. She did not name Riley. She did not need to. Coworkers filled the comments with sympathy. I received calls from Vanessa's mother, 2 of her friends, and a man from her legal department who suggested I avoid making emotionally driven allegations. At 10, our joint credit card stopped working. At 11, Vanessa changed the alarm code at the house. I owned half the property. The system did not care. Riley's attorney, Dana Brooks, instructed us to communicate only in writing. Vanessa is building a retaliation narrative, Dana said. She wants Riley to appear unstable before the company examines the compliance data. What about the police report? Riley asked. Do you have the jewelry? No. Then let them investigate. I lived in the house. My fingerprints are everywhere. Dana leaned forward. That is why you do not explain anything without counsel. Riley looked at me. I could see the instinct to seek permission. I said, listen to Dana. Not me. The distinction mattered. The next morning, Vanessa called from an unknown number. I answered because I thought it might be a client. Are you proud of yourself? She asked. I asked you to communicate through attorneys. You gave my employee access to a lawyer before you gave your wife one conversation. You had 5 years of conversations. She is lying about the reports. Then the audit will show that. Vanessa became quiet. You really think this is about medication records? What is it about? She wants you. That does not explain your login activity. She used my computer. She says you used hers. And you believe her. I believe logs, cameras, and independent review. Vanessa laughed softly. You sound like a stranger. I feel like one. She lowered her voice. Come home tonight. I will tell you everything. Tell the attorneys. Some things cannot be said in front of attorneys. That is usually when attorneys are most necessary. Her breathing changed. For a moment, I heard fear rather than performance. Ethan, if this goes public, I lose my career. If the allegations are false, you won't. You know how companies work. They protect themselves. Then why did you put Riley at risk? Silence. Vanessa ended the call. That afternoon, company investigators interviewed Riley for 4 hours. They asked about her relationship with Vanessa. They asked whether she had feelings for me. They asked why she lived in our home. Every personal humiliation became part of the professional defense Vanessa designed. Riley answered honestly. Yes, she had slept with Vanessa. Yes, Vanessa had claimed I approved. Yes, Riley developed feelings for me. No, I had not encouraged them. No, she did not know Vanessa was falsifying records until she found access logs linked to her account. The investigators looked uncomfortable. Dana looked satisfied. People lying strategically avoid details that damage them, she explained afterward. Riley's admissions make the rest more credible. Riley sat in the parking garage with both hands over her face. My career is over. Maybe, Dana said. I looked at her. She shrugged. I do not sell comforting lies. Her career may change. That is not the same as her life ending. Riley lowered her hands. Dana continued. You were manipulated by a supervisor. You also made choices. Both can be true. Recovery begins when you stop needing one truth to erase the other. I thought of my marriage. Vanessa had manipulated people. I had ignored signs because the truth threatened the stable life I believed I had built. Both could be true. That evening, I returned to the house with a police officer to collect clothing and work equipment. Vanessa was waiting. She had arranged candles on the dining table and ordered food from the restaurant where we celebrated our first anniversary. Our wedding photographs sat beside the plates. The officer remained near the door. Vanessa looked at him. Is that necessary? Yes, I said. Her face tightened. I was hoping we could talk privately. We can talk with witnesses. She looked at the officer again, then at me. Fine. I packed while she followed. She reminded me of our honeymoon. The night my father died. The first apartment with the leaking roof. The job she helped me apply for. Every memory was real. Each one became a rope she hoped I would mistake for a bridge. In the bedroom, she closed the door behind us. The officer opened it again. Door stays open, he said. Vanessa's expression flashed with humiliation. I almost felt sorry for her. Then she said, Riley stole my grandmother's bracelet. Where was it kept? The officer asked. Vanessa looked at him. In my jewelry box. Any sign the box was forced? No. Who had access? My husband. Riley. Cleaning staff. I opened the top dresser drawer to remove my passport. The bracelet lay beneath a stack of Vanessa's scarves. Everyone saw it. Vanessa stared. The officer picked it up with a tissue. You reported this stolen yesterday. Vanessa recovered quickly. I must have forgotten I moved it. The officer's face remained neutral. Of course. Outside, he handed me a card. Your wife is either careless or escalating, he said. Document everything. I already had. The house cameras automatically backed up footage to a cloud account Vanessa had forgotten I created. One video showed her removing the bracelet from the jewelry box after Riley left. Another showed her placing it inside the drawer 30 minutes before I arrived. The report against Riley collapsed. Vanessa's credibility went with it. She needed a new strategy. That was when she invited Riley back to the house and forced the final choice. Vanessa sent Riley a message from a disposable number. I have proof that clears you. Come alone. Ethan will be here. Riley called me first. I told her not to go. Dana agreed. Then Vanessa sent a photograph of a paper file labeled Northridge Controlled Inventory Review. The file was the original audit package Riley needed. Dana contacted the company. They confirmed the file was missing. We involve police, I said. Vanessa sent another message. Police arrive, the file burns. Dana looked at Riley. This is coercion. She will destroy it, Riley said. We can subpoena copies. The originals contain handwritten notes. I saw them months ago. They show who changed the numbers. Dana thought for a long moment. Then she arranged for 2 investigators to wait nearby and instructed Riley to wear a recording device. Vanessa had asked for me too. I went because the house remained legally mine and because I refused to allow Riley to enter alone. At 1:30 in the morning, we walked through the front door. The lights were on downstairs. Vanessa waited in the kitchen wearing the cream anniversary sweater. The marriage certificate lay on the island. 2 envelopes sat beside it. The original audit file was nowhere visible. "You brought her," Vanessa said. "You invited both of us. I invited you to make a decision." Riley remained near the doorway. "Where is the file?" Vanessa smiled. Still thinking like an employee. She pushed the envelopes toward me. One contained divorce papers. The other contained the false statement accusing Riley of seduction, theft, and retaliation. Vanessa explained the offer calmly. If I signed the statement and remained married to her, she would withdraw the police complaint, recommend Riley receive severance instead of termination, and produce records blaming a departed executive for the compliance irregularities. If I refused, Vanessa would proceed with the divorce, testify that Riley and I conspired against her, and ensure every intimate detail became public. "You cannot control the company investigation," I said. "I control enough." Riley looked at her. "You used my login. You gave me the password. You stood behind me while I typed it. That is not a crime. You falsified controlled drug reports." Vanessa's smile vanished. "You do not understand what those reports were." "Then explain." Inventory went missing from 3 regional warehouses. If corporate reported the losses immediately, federal agencies would freeze distribution. Hospitals would lose medication. People would suffer. So you changed the numbers. I delayed disclosure. And blamed my account. I needed a junior approval layer until I found the source. Riley stared at her. "You were going to sacrifice me. I was going to protect everyone." I had heard the same logic before from executives who treated employees as numbers inside an emergency spreadsheet. Vanessa truly believed intelligence gave her the right to decide whose life carried the risk. "Where is the file?" I asked. She touched the statement. "Choose first." Riley looked at me. Vanessa followed her gaze and smiled. "There. Finally. We can stop pretending this is only about compliance." She faced me. "Choose me, Ethan. Choose the woman who built a life with you. Sign the statement, and I will spend the rest of my life making this right." Riley's eyes filled. Then she said, "Choose me." Vanessa laughed. Riley shook her head. "Not romantically. Choose whether you believe her or me. Choose whether the truth matters when telling it costs you your marriage." I picked up the pen. Vanessa relaxed. I crossed out the statement and wrote, "I choose the truth." Then I told both women to leave the house. Vanessa's face transformed. "You cannot choose neither. I can refuse the game. You love her. I barely know who either of you is anymore." Riley looked hurt, but she nodded. That was another difference between them. Riley could hear a boundary without treating it as an attack. Vanessa swept the wineglass from the counter. It shattered against the wall. Riley flinched. Vanessa turned toward her. "You ruined my life." "No," Riley said. "I stopped carrying it for you." Vanessa slapped her. The sound cracked through the kitchen. I stepped between them. Vanessa raised her hand again, then saw the recording device clipped beneath Riley's collar. Everything in her face stopped. She grabbed for it. Riley moved back. I caught Vanessa's wrist. "Do not touch her." Vanessa looked at my hand. I released her immediately. She backed against the island. "You set me up." No, Dana said from the doorway. She entered with 2 company investigators and a police officer. You arranged the meeting. We documented it. Vanessa's eyes moved around the room. For the first time since I had known her, she could not find the correct version of reality fast enough. The investigator asked where the missing audit file was. Vanessa refused to answer. The officer reminded her that destroying evidence connected to a federal compliance investigation could become a criminal matter. Her gaze returned to me. Tell them to leave. I said nothing. Ethan. The command was familiar. So was the silence that followed when I did not obey. Riley looked toward the oven. I smell paper. Smoke leaked from the warming drawer beneath it. The officer opened the drawer. Inside, the audit file had begun burning inside a metal roasting pan. The flames were small. The handwritten pages remained mostly intact. The investigators extinguished them. Vanessa closed her eyes. The choice was over. Truth had survived by minutes. The audit file proved that controlled medication had disappeared from 3 regional warehouses over 18 months. Vanessa discovered the losses early. Instead of reporting them, she changed inventory figures, delayed mandatory notifications, and used Riley's credentials to create a junior approval trail. The missing medication was being diverted through a contractor connected to one of Vanessa's largest clients. Reporting the scheme would have cost the company millions and destroyed the quarterly performance numbers that determined Vanessa's promotion. She told herself she needed more time to identify the full network. The handwritten notes showed another motive. Bonus exposure. Regional promotion. Protect renewal. The words appeared in the margins beside calculations of how long she could conceal each discrepancy. This was not a desperate attempt to keep medicine in hospitals. It was career preservation wearing the language of public service. The company suspended Vanessa before sunrise. By the following week, federal investigators were involved. Riley remained on leave, but the company withdrew the allegation that she had initiated the false approvals. They did not apologize. Corporations rarely apologized before lawyers approved the vocabulary. Vanessa hired an aggressive defense attorney and filed for divorce. Her petition accused me of marital abandonment, emotional cruelty, and an inappropriate relationship with her subordinate. The last accusation was the most difficult because it contained a fragment of truth. Riley had cared about me. I had noticed her. I had defended her. None of that meant we had an affair. But truth does not always look clean from a distance. My attorney advised me to stop all private contact with Riley. I agreed. When I told her, she looked disappointed and relieved. That is probably best, she said. It is necessary. I know. She had moved into a small furnished apartment arranged by a victim support organization Dana recommended. She attended therapy twice a week and communicated with the company only through counsel. Before I left, Riley said, I need you to know I'm grateful. You do not owe me gratitude. I know. I'm trying to learn the difference between gratitude and debt. I nodded. So am I. We did not speak for 5 months. During that time, the divorce became public enough to damage everyone and private enough to remain lonely. Vanessa's friends described me as cold. Her mother sent a letter saying marriage required forgiveness. My mother sent a shorter letter to Vanessa saying forgiveness did not require proximity. I changed hotels 3 times because reporters learned where I stayed. Eventually, I rented a 1-bedroom apartment across town. The first night, I ate takeout on the floor because I owned no table. The silence felt different from the silence in our house. That silence had been full of things I was not allowed to ask. This one belonged to me. Vanessa attempted reconciliation twice. The first time, she sent a 20-page letter explaining that pressure, loneliness, and untreated anxiety had distorted her judgment. The second time, she appeared outside my office and asked whether I could remember the woman she had been before her ambition got out of control. I remembered. That was not the problem. People were not divided into the person they once were and the monster they later became. Vanessa had been generous, funny, and brave. She had held my father's hand during his final hours because I could not. She had once driven 6 hours through a snowstorm to help my sister after a miscarriage. She had also manipulated employees, forged my email, falsified records, and tried to frame Riley. Good memories did not cancel harm. Harm did not erase every good memory. Adulthood meant carrying both without using one to falsify the other. I hope you get help, I told her outside my office. That sounds like goodbye. It is. She looked at me for a long time. Was there ever a moment when you considered choosing me? Yes. Her face changed. When? Every day before the truth became unavoidable. Vanessa began crying. I did not hold her. That was the final boundary. The criminal case moved slowly. Vanessa eventually pleaded guilty to obstruction and falsification of regulated records. Prosecutors did not charge her with the medication theft because evidence showed the contractor operated without her initial knowledge. She received 18 months in federal custody, followed by supervised release. Her cooperation helped expose the diversion network. Riley testified. So did I. The company paid a large civil penalty and created a compliance fund for employees pressured to approve questionable records. They named the program after integrity. They did not name Riley. She preferred it that way. The divorce finalized 6 weeks before Vanessa reported to prison. We divided the house, retirement accounts, furniture, and debt. She kept the expensive knives. I kept the cheap cast-iron pan we bought before the wedding. It seemed appropriate. After the audit file was recovered, the police allowed me to remain at the house. I did not want to. Still, the insurance company needed an inventory after the damaged wall and smoke from the oven. My attorney wanted photographs of marital property before Vanessa's family removed anything. So I returned on a gray Sunday morning with a camera, a legal pad, and my sister, Nora. Nora walked through the front door, looked at the broken wineglass stain near the kitchen wall, and said, I never liked this paint. It was exactly the sort of thing she said when emotions became too large. I laughed for the first time in days. We photographed furniture, electronics, art, jewelry, and documents. Vanessa had selected almost everything in the house. The sofa because it looked expensive on camera. The dining table because a designer told her walnut signaled maturity. The abstract print in the hall because it matched the rug. I had believed this meant Vanessa cared more about our home than I did. Now I understood that I had allowed taste to become authority. My preferences appeared in smaller objects. The cast-iron pan. A chipped mug from Yellowstone. A wooden box my grandfather made. Sketchbooks buried in a closet because I stopped drawing after Vanessa said unfinished hobbies made rooms look cluttered. Nora found one. You used to be good. I used to practice. Same thing, eventually. She placed the sketchbook in the box marked Ethan. Upstairs, the guest room looked almost untouched. Riley had taken 2 suitcases, her laptop, and the crooked blue cardigan from the dining chair. Everything else remained because much of it belonged to Vanessa. Inside the desk, we found a notebook. The first pages contained work calculations. Later pages became fragmented records. Vanessa says Ethan travels because he dislikes coming home. Ethan says the Denver project ends in March. Vanessa says Ethan asked about me. Ethan asked whether I found an apartment. Vanessa says I owe her honesty. I do not know what honesty means when she decides the answer first. Nora read over my shoulder. This is grooming. The word made me uncomfortable because it sounded too deliberate, too dark. Riley is an adult. So are people in cults. Nora. Adults can be manipulated. You know that now. I closed the notebook. I had been resisting language that made Vanessa's behavior seem calculated because calculation felt incompatible with the woman who cried during animal rescue commercials and remembered every birthday in my family. But people did not need to be fictional villains to create systems of harm. Sometimes they built those systems one reasonable decision at a time. Offer the spare room. Help with clothes. Share private information. Create dependency. Redefine boundaries. Punish questions. Then call the result mutual. Vanessa's mother arrived just before noon. She used her key without knocking. When she saw Nora, her expression hardened. I came for my daughter's personal things. Everything needs to be documented, I said. She is facing a criminal investigation, and you are worried about lamps? I am worried about claims that property disappeared. Her eyes filled with tears. You know Vanessa. She gets frightened and makes things worse. She needs someone calm. For years, that person had been me. What she needs is an attorney and treatment. She needs her husband. Nora stepped closer to me, but I answered before she could. I was her husband when she forged my email. She was desperate. I was her husband when she used Riley's account. She thought she was protecting the company. I was her husband when she tried to burn the evidence. Vanessa's mother covered her mouth. The facts became cruel only when listed without the explanations that softened them. She loves you, she whispered. I believe she does. Hope appeared in her face. I continued. That does not make it safe for me to stay. The hope disappeared. She collected clothes under Nora's supervision. After she left, I sat on the bedroom floor surrounded by boxes. Nora sat beside me. You okay? No. Good answer. I still miss her. Of course you do. I hate that. Missing someone is not a legal argument for returning to them. I looked at her. You and Dana would get along. I charge less. We finished the inventory after sunset. Before leaving, I stood in the kitchen where Vanessa had asked me to choose. The marriage certificate was gone, taken into evidence with the envelopes. The island looked ordinary again. That frightened me more than the damage. Rooms recovered faster than people. I locked the door and gave the key to my attorney. For the first time in 5 years, I had no place I called home. The loss felt enormous. It also felt clean. The internal hearing took place inside a glass conference room on the 23rd floor of Vanessa's corporate headquarters. The company called it a fact-finding review. Every person in the room knew careers, criminal referrals, and millions of dollars depended on what facts the company decided it had found. Riley sat between Dana and another attorney. Vanessa sat across from them with 2 corporate lawyers and her personal counsel. I waited outside until called. Through the glass, I watched Vanessa enter wearing a navy suit and no wedding ring. She looked composed enough to deliver quarterly earnings. Riley looked ill. Dana said something to her. Riley nodded, placed both feet flat on the floor, and stopped shrinking. The panel began with technical evidence. An information security specialist testified that Riley's credentials approved 17 altered reports. However, 14 approvals originated from Vanessa's company laptop. The remaining 3 came from our home network, while Riley's phone location records placed her at a movie theater, a grocery store, and a medical appointment. Vanessa argued Riley had remote access. The specialist explained that remote access would generate a different authentication token. It had not. A warehouse director testified that he warned Vanessa about inventory losses 10 months earlier. Vanessa instructed him to conduct reconciliation before formal disclosure. A vice president testified that Vanessa's promotion depended partly on maintaining distribution accuracy above 99.4%. Then Riley testified. She described moving into our house. The borrowed clothing. The forged email. The personal relationship. The moment she discovered her credentials had been used. Vanessa's attorney asked whether Riley had romantic feelings for me. Yes. The direct answer disrupted him. While living in your supervisor's home? Yes. Did you hope Mr. Cole would leave his wife? Riley took a breath. Sometimes. Vanessa looked at me through the glass. The attorney continued. So you had a motive to damage their marriage. I had feelings that made me vulnerable to the story Vanessa told me. That is not the same as falsifying pharmaceutical records. You slept with Mrs. Cole willingly. I participated. I also participated under false information she created using her authority as my supervisor and host. Did she physically force you? No. Then this was consensual. Dana objected. The panel chair allowed Riley to answer. Riley looked at Vanessa. I consented to a relationship I was told Ethan knew about. I did not consent to being used as evidence against him or as cover for fraud. Consent to one thing is not consent to everything someone later decides it meant. No one spoke for several seconds. Vanessa's attorney changed subjects. When my turn came, I sat at the end of the table and swore to tell the truth. They asked whether I had ever discussed inviting another person into the marriage. No. They showed me the forged email. I did not write it. They asked whether Riley and I had an affair. No. Did you develop romantic feelings for her? The question was designed to turn every act of support into evidence. I was concerned for her safety. I also recognized that she was intelligent, kind, and attractive. I did not pursue her. We have had no romantic relationship. Vanessa's attorney smiled. That was not a no. It was the accurate answer. He asked why I paid for Riley's hotel. Because my wife had manipulated and threatened her in our home. According to Riley. According to a forged email, recorded conversation, false police complaint, planted bracelet, and burning audit file. The smile disappeared. Vanessa testified last. She admitted changing the inventory numbers. She called it temporary stabilization. She admitted accessing Riley's account. She called it delegated authority. She admitted writing the email from me. She called it facilitating a conversation she believed I was too emotionally limited to initiate. Each admission arrived wrapped in professional language. Then the panel chair asked whether she understood that Riley could have been imprisoned. Vanessa looked at Riley. I never intended that. Did you intend the approvals to appear under her name? Yes. Did you intend investigators to believe she approved them? Only temporarily. The chair leaned back. Ms. Cole, prison is full of consequences people intend it to be temporary. For the first time, Vanessa lost composure. She looked toward me. I did not rescue her from the silence. The company terminated her that afternoon. It cleared Riley of intentional falsification but cited serious boundary violations, and negotiated a confidential settlement rather than returning her to the department. Outside the building, Riley stood on the sidewalk holding the letter that ended her career there. I won, she said. It did not sound like victory. Dana answered, you survived an institution protecting itself. That is not the same thing as winning. Riley folded the letter. What do I do now? Anything that does not require Vanessa's permission. Riley looked toward the city. For the first time, the number of choices frightened her more than the lack of them. Federal investigators traced the missing medication to a network of private clinics that billed insurers for treatments never provided. The contractor Vanessa protected had diverted millions of dollars worth of controlled drugs, then manipulated warehouse records to hide the shortages. Vanessa did not create the network. She discovered enough to stop it and chose delay because disclosure threatened her region, her bonus, and the promotion she had pursued for 6 years. Her defense attorney presented her as a whistleblower who made procedural mistakes while building a larger case. The handwritten notes made that story difficult. The government charged her with falsification of regulated records, obstruction, identity misuse, and attempted destruction of evidence. The forged email and sexual manipulation were not central charges. That angered Riley. She used people to commit the crime, and the law calls that background. Dana explained that criminal statutes divided reality into provable categories. The law may punish the records and barely name what happened in the house. That does not make the house unimportant. Riley joined a civil claim with Lauren and Sarah. Their statements established a pattern of workplace coercion. The company settled before trial. Vanessa's criminal attorney requested a meeting with prosecutors to discuss cooperation. She could identify the contractor executives who organized the diversion network. In exchange, the government offered a reduced sentence. Before accepting, Vanessa asked to speak with me through a court-appointed mediator. My attorney advised against it. I agreed anyway because I wanted one conversation in which neither of us could rewrite the room later. We met inside a courthouse conference room. A mediator sat at the end of the table. 2 attorneys remained near the door. Vanessa wore a gray dress and looked smaller without the office, house, and social confidence surrounding her. "You look tired," she said. "So do you." "I'm going to plead guilty." "I heard. My attorney says cooperation is the only sensible option. What do you think?" She smiled faintly. "You always ask questions when other people want decisions." "I should have asked more." Vanessa looked down at her hands. "I did not know about the clinics at first. I thought it was warehouse theft. I believed I could identify the source before reporting it. And protect your promotion." "Yes." The admission was quiet. Why Riley? She had access. Other analysts had access. Vanessa's eyes filled. She trusted me. There it was. Not hatred. Opportunity. You knew she would doubt herself before doubting you. Yes. Did you invite her into our house to control the audit? At first, I wanted to help her. And later? I realized keeping her close made everything easier. The relationship? Vanessa closed her eyes. I wanted her. Did you want me too? Yes. That was never the choice. I know that now. She looked at me. I thought if I could make the 3 of us want the same thing, then nothing I did would count as betrayal. You tried to manufacture consent after the fact. Yes. The mediator remained silent. Vanessa's tears fell onto her hands. I was terrified of being ordinary. I had never heard her say that. She continued. My whole life, being impressive was the only thing that made people stay interested. At work. In my family. With you. You were so steady that I started believing steady meant you would never leave, no matter how far I pushed. That is not love. No. She lifted her eyes. Did you choose Riley because she needed you more? I did not choose Riley. Vanessa looked confused. I chose not to sign a lie. You are going to be with her. I don't know. The answer was true then. Vanessa studied me. For the first time, I believe you. She signed the plea agreement 2 weeks later. At sentencing, Riley gave a victim impact statement. She did not ask for the maximum punishment. She described losing her job, apartment, confidence, and ability to trust her own memory. She also acknowledged her choices without accepting responsibility for Vanessa's crimes. I do not need the court to decide whether she ever loved me, Riley said. I need the court to understand that love does not make coercion harmless. Vanessa cried. The judge sentenced her to 18 months in federal custody, 3 years of supervision, and professional restrictions that ended her work in regulated pharmaceutical distribution. As marshals led her away, she looked at me. I nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not hatred. Recognition that the person I had loved still existed inside the person facing consequences. Then she disappeared through the side door. News articles called it a love triangle, a corporate sex scandal, and a whistleblower romance. The headlines flattened months of coercion, fraud, fear, and legal work into language designed to make strangers click. One article described me as the husband who chose the younger woman. Riley read it in a grocery store checkout line. She abandoned the cart and called me from the parking lot. I hate that they made me the prize. You aren't. I know. They don't. We met at a diner where no reporters had found us yet. Riley placed the article face down on the table. They think I moved into your house, seduced both of you, exposed Vanessa, and got you. You did not get me. Thank you. That sounded better in my head. She almost smiled. I continued. No one won a person. Vanessa lost control because the evidence survived. You told the truth. I left my marriage. Those are separate events. Riley stirred coffee she had not sweetened. Do you regret helping me? No. Do you regret meeting me? The honest answer required care. I regret the conditions under which we met. I do not regret knowing you. She looked at me for a long time. I need distance. Pain moved through me before reason caught up. How much? I don't know. I nodded. Riley watched my face. You're not going to argue? No. Or tell me I'm reacting to trauma? No. What if I never call? That is your choice. She began crying. I hate that the right answer hurts. So do I. We left separately. That distance became the 5 months during which Riley rebuilt her life without me. It also forced me to examine whether my care for her had become another identity I needed. The rescuer. The good man contrasted against Vanessa. The person who always responded correctly. No one can build a healthy relationship while auditioning for innocence. I moved into the small apartment. Returned to work. Ate alone. Called my sister more often. Began therapy. Opened the sketchbooks. Some evenings, I missed Riley. Other evenings, I missed Vanessa. Occasionally, I missed the version of myself who believed he understood his life. None of those feelings required action. That was another lesson. Emotion could be information without becoming instruction. When Riley eventually invited me for coffee, I did not treat it as a reward for waiting. She had not returned to the man who saved her. She had approached a man she had chosen after proving she could live without him. That made every later step possible. The divorce deposition took place after Vanessa entered her plea but before sentencing. By then, the criminal facts were mostly settled. The marriage facts were not. Vanessa's attorney wanted the court to consider my relationship with Riley when dividing property and determining whether either spouse had financially damaged the other. My attorney said fault would matter less than the numbers, but Vanessa insisted on making the emotional history part of the record. Perhaps she still believed that if she could prove I wanted Riley, the rest of her choices would become understandable. I sat across from her in a law office without windows. A court reporter typed every word. Vanessa looked thinner. She wore no makeup except concealer beneath her eyes. The polished executive had not disappeared, but she no longer had an audience willing to reward the performance. Her attorney began simply. When did you first find Ms. Hart attractive? I noticed she was attractive when she moved into our house. Vanessa looked at me. Her attorney continued. Did you tell your wife? No. Why not? Because noticing another adult is attractive is not automatically important. Did you enjoy Ms. Hart's presence? Sometimes. Did you prefer her company to your wife's? Occasionally. My attorney shifted beside me, but the truthful answers mattered more than flattering ones. Did you imagine a romantic relationship with her before discovering your wife's affair? No. Afterward? Yes. Vanessa's face tightened. The attorney leaned forward. How soon afterward? I don't remember the first thought. Days? Possibly. So while married, you imagined being with your wife's subordinate. I imagined many futures while understanding my marriage had ended. I did not pursue her. Vanessa whispered something to her lawyer. He asked whether Riley and I coordinated our accounts before the company hearing. No. Whether I paid her legal fees. No. Whether I expected gratitude for the hotel. No. Then he produced text messages between Riley and me from the morning after the confrontation. Stay inside. Dana will arrive at 8. Have you eaten? Do not answer Vanessa. The attorney described the messages as intimate. I described them as practical. He asked whether I often monitored what female acquaintances ate. No. Then why Riley? Because she was shaking and had not slept. Vanessa interrupted. You always notice when she is uncomfortable. The court reporter stopped typing. Her attorney reminded her not to speak unless questioned. Vanessa ignored him. You never noticed me. I looked at her. I noticed you were unhappy. You did nothing. I suggested counseling. You said we were too busy. I offered to request fewer trips. You said we needed the money. I asked whether you wanted to leave. You accused me of being dramatic. You never fought for me. The words revealed the private rule I had failed to understand. To Vanessa, love was proven by refusing to accept her choices. If she pushed me away, I should pursue. If she crossed a boundary, I should demonstrate devotion by rebuilding it around her. If she created a competition, I should fight to win. I did fight, I said. I kept trying to solve the problems you admitted existed. I did not know you wanted resistance more than repair. Vanessa's eyes filled. You let me leave. You asked me to accept a lie or lose you. You chose the lie mattered more. Yes. My answer seemed to surprise her even then. She looked down. Her attorney requested a break. During the pause, Vanessa remained at the table while everyone else left. I stood near the door. UsThen. I waited. If Riley had never moved in, would we still be married? The question had no provable answer. Maybe. Vanessa looked up. That is cruel. It is honest. We might have continued for years without understanding what was wrong. Would that have been worse? For the people you used, yes. Her face folded inward. I wanted to comfort her. The impulse did not mean I should. When the deposition resumed, Vanessa withdrew the allegation that I had caused financial damage through an affair. We negotiated the property division within a month. She took her clothes, jewelry, retirement share, and the imported knives she had selected. I took the cast iron pan, my grandfather's box, and the sketchbooks. We sold the house. The buyer repainted the kitchen before moving in. I saw the listing photographs online. The wall where the wineglass shattered was pale green. No trace of the night remained. For a moment, that felt unjust. Then I understood that houses should not be required to preserve our worst decisions merely because people did. The first former coworker contacted Dana after seeing a local article about the case. Her name was Lauren Kim. 6 years earlier, she had worked beneath Vanessa at another company. She was recently divorced, new to the city, and worried about losing custody because she could not afford a stable apartment. Vanessa offered her the guest room in the condo she owned before we married. Then she offered friendship. Then intimacy. Then the claim that I, or the boyfriend before me, approved. The timeline was unclear because Vanessa changed partners and cities during those years. What remained consistent was the method. Dependency first. Isolation second. A private relationship disguised as rescue. When Lauren tried to end it, Vanessa wrote a performance review describing her as emotionally unstable and unable to maintain boundaries. Lauren transferred across the country. The second woman, Sarah Bell, had resigned after Vanessa accused her of using sexual attention to influence promotion decisions. Sarah had kept messages. One from Vanessa read, "If anyone finds out, they will believe the married manager, not the lonely assistant." The messages did not change Vanessa's criminal sentence. They changed how Riley understood what happened. "I thought I was uniquely stupid," she told Dana during one meeting I attended as a witness. Lauren answered, "That is part of the design. She makes you believe your shame is evidence that no one else could understand." The three women did not become friends immediately. Shared harm did not guarantee shared personalities. Lauren was direct and impatient. Sarah distrusted everyone. Riley still apologized before disagreeing. But they testified for one another. They created a record stronger than any one person's memory. Vanessa's attorney tried to portray them as resentful employees joining a public attack. Lauren answered calmly. "We are not asking the court to believe we were perfect. We are asking it to recognize that imperfection is what she selected." I thought about that sentence for weeks. Manipulators rarely chose people without judgment. They chose people whose judgment could be redirected against themselves. Riley had made choices. She also had been selected because Vanessa understood exactly how shame would keep her silent. After the hearing, Riley approached me in the courthouse lobby. 5 months had passed since we last spoke privately. She looked different. Not dramatically. Her hair was shorter. Her clothes fit better. But the greater change was in the way she occupied space. She stood without checking who approved. "Hi," she said. "Hi." We both laughed at the awkwardness. "How are you?" Learning to answer that honestly. "And?" "Today, tired." "Usually, better." She asked about my apartment. I told her I had finally bought a table. Progress. 4 chairs. Ambitious. Dana walked past us and pretended not to notice. Riley became serious. "I know we agreed not to speak during the case. The case is nearly finished. That does not mean we should make a mistake because the danger feels over." I studied her. What would be a mistake? Using each other to prove Vanessa did not ruin us. The answer was wiser than anything I had prepared. "I agree." Relief crossed her face. Then disappointment. Both were honest. I said, "Coffee is not a life decision." Riley looked at me. "No. Would you like coffee?" She considered it. "Not today." I nodded. That was the first time she said no to me without apology. I respected it more than a yes. 3 weeks later, she texted. "Coffee is now a reasonably sized decision." We met on a Saturday afternoon. No secrets. No borrowed robes. No one waiting at home. We spoke for 2 hours about everything except Vanessa. Riley liked astronomy podcasts, hated olives, and wanted to finish the statistics degree she abandoned when money became tight. I told her I had once wanted to design bridges before construction management offered better pay. She asked why I stopped drawing. I had no answer. The following week, she gave me a sketchbook. Not expensive. Not symbolic. Just useful. Our relationship began in decisions small enough to remain free. Riley and I did not date immediately. We met for coffee. Then lunch. Then a museum exhibit about urban design where she pretended to understand my excitement over suspension cables. I attended a public lecture at her community college and discovered statistics could be interesting when she explained them. For 4 months, we did not touch beyond brief hugs. The restraint was not fear. It was respect for how easily gratitude, loneliness, and attraction could imitate love after crisis. Riley continued therapy. So did I. My therapist asked why I had tolerated the marriage for so long. Because I loved her. That explains staying. It does not explain ignoring yourself. I disliked the question. That usually meant it was useful. I had built my identity around being the calm one. Reliable. Reasonable. The man who did not shout, did not abandon, did not make emotional demands. That identity looked virtuous from outside. Inside, it allowed me to avoid conflict until other people defined reality for me. Vanessa's manipulation worked partly because I considered suspicion a moral failure. I preferred to believe a polished explanation rather than risk becoming jealous or controlling. Trust without questions was not trust. It was passivity. Riley faced a different lesson. She had learned to treat kindness as a contract whose hidden terms would appear later. When I paid for dinner, she transferred half the amount before reaching home. When I offered to help carry boxes, she tried to finish before I arrived. One evening, we assembled a bookshelf in her apartment. The instructions were terrible. After an hour, we discovered the shelves were upside down. Riley sat on the floor laughing until tears ran down her face. I started laughing too. Then she became quiet. What? I asked. This feels normal. It is badly constructed furniture. I know. She looked at me. I forgot normal could be funny instead of dangerous. I sat beside her. Can I kiss you? The question surprised her. She searched my face, not for the correct answer but for her own. Yes. The kiss was gentle. No declaration followed. No promise. We returned to the bookshelf. It remained uneven. Riley kept it anyway. When Vanessa reported to prison, Riley experienced guilt. She would not be there if I stayed quiet. She falsified records. I know. She burned evidence. I know. Then why are you carrying the sentence? Because I once loved her. The answer reminded me that betrayal did not erase attachment on command. You can grieve someone and still tell the truth about her, I said. Riley nodded. Do you grieve her? Yes. She looked surprised. I thought you hated her. I do sometimes. I also remember dancing with her in a grocery store because our song played over the speakers. People are inconveniently complete. Riley leaned her head against my shoulder. That sounds exhausting. It is. We began dating officially after 6 months. We told Dana because she had become an unwilling witness to our lives. She stared at us across her desk. Do not make me regret introducing you to boundaries. We met before you, Riley said. You did not meet correctly. That made all 3 of us laugh. Riley completed her degree the following year and accepted a position with an independent healthcare auditing firm. The job required travel. The first time she left for a week, she worried I would interpret distance as rejection. I worried she would interpret my questions as surveillance. We discussed both. That was what healthy communication often looked like, not natural ease, but 2 people naming the old traps before stepping around them. I started drawing again. Mostly bridges. Riley framed the first one even though the perspective was wrong. Why this one? I asked. Because you finished it. The answer stayed with me. 8 months into her sentence, Vanessa wrote to Riley. Not to me. The envelope arrived at Riley's office with no return address beyond the federal facility. Riley waited 3 days before opening it. Then she asked me to sit with her. Vanessa's handwriting remained precise. Riley, I have spent months deciding whether apologizing would be another way of demanding something from you. Maybe it is. I do not know how to speak without trying to control the result. She admitted falsifying the email from me. She admitted selecting Riley because she was isolated. She admitted confusing desire with permission and rescue with ownership. Then she wrote something neither of us expected. I loved you. That does not make what I did less abusive. It makes me understand that I used the word love for whatever prevented someone from leaving. Riley stopped reading. We sat in silence. Do you believe her? She asked. I believe she wrote it. That is not what I asked. I think she may understand something she did not understand before. I do not know whether understanding will change her. Riley nodded. The letter ended without requesting forgiveness or a reply. Riley cried anyway. She eventually wrote back 3 sentences. I believe you loved me in the only way you knew. I also believe your love harmed me. I hope you learn another way, but I cannot help teach you. She mailed the letter. I never contacted Vanessa in prison. That decision was not punishment. It was recognition that closure did not require mutual participation. When she was released, she moved to another state under supervision and began working for a nonprofit that assisted women leaving coercive relationships. The irony angered Lauren. Sarah called it image repair. Riley said people could understand harm because they had caused it, though understanding did not entitle them to trust. I did not know which interpretation was correct. Maybe all of them. Vanessa sent me one final email through our attorneys. I hope the life you build is honest enough that you do not need to compare it to the one we lost. I did not reply. But I appreciated the sentence. For a long time, Riley and I had measured our relationship against Vanessa. We congratulated ourselves for asking permission, telling the truth, and respecting space. Eventually, those things needed to become ordinary rather than evidence of moral superiority. A relationship could not survive as a permanent reaction to another woman. Riley and I began arguing about normal things. She left mugs beside the bed. I reorganized the refrigerator according to a system no other person understood. She hated my habit of answering work email during movies. I disliked that she began home projects at 10 at night. The first serious argument concerned moving in together. Riley's lease was ending. I had purchased a small house near the river, one with a room I used as a studio. Inviting her to move in seemed practical. The question terrified her. I lived in someone else's house once, she said. This is different. I know. My body doesn't. I wanted to reassure her by promising everything. Instead, we created terms. Her name would be added to the deed only if she contributed to ownership. She would keep a separate bank account. The studio and second bedroom would remain flexible spaces, not proof that one person owned more of the home. Either person could ask for time alone without turning it into a threat of abandonment. Riley laughed while we wrote the list. This sounds like a corporate merger. Your last informal housing agreement ended badly. Fair. She did not move in when her lease ended. She renewed for 6 months. I was disappointed. I respected the decision. 6 months later, she arrived at my door with 2 boxes, a suitcase, and the crooked bookshelf. This is all? I asked. The moving truck comes tomorrow. I stepped aside. Welcome home. Riley did not enter immediately. Ask me again. What? Ask whether I want to live here. I understood. Riley Hart, do you want to live with me? She smiled. Yes. Then she crossed the threshold because she chose to. 2 years after the night in the kitchen, Riley and I attended a fundraiser for a whistleblower legal clinic. Lauren gave the keynote speech. Sarah sat near the back and left before dessert. Dana received an award and complained that the plaque was too heavy. Riley wore a dark green dress she selected herself. No one told her it improved her professional image. During dinner, a young analyst approached our table. She had reported billing fraud at a medical supplier and lost most of her friends after the company accused her of disloyalty. "I heard your story," she told Riley. "How did you know who to trust?" Riley considered the question. "I didn't. I learned to trust processes before people. Independent counsel. Copies of records. Conversations with witnesses. Then I watched what people did when I said no." The analyst looked toward me. "And him?" Riley smiled. "He was the first man who helped me without asking me to repay him emotionally." I looked down at my plate because public praise made me uncomfortable. Riley touched my hand. "That does not mean he rescued me." The analyst nodded. "I understand." After the fundraiser, Riley and I walked beside the river. The city lights moved across the water in broken lines. I carried a small ring box inside my coat. I had planned a speech. It sounded artificial now. Riley stopped near a pedestrian bridge and looked at the steel arches. "You draw this one a lot. The load distribution is elegant. That is the least romantic answer possible. I can improve it." I took out the box. Riley stared. "Ethan. The first time two women asked me to choose between them, I believed the choice was the most important thing in the room." She looked at me carefully. "It wasn't?" "No. The important thing was learning that love is not a competition someone else gets to design." I opened the box. "I am not choosing you instead of Vanessa. I am choosing the life we built after both of us learned how to choose ourselves." Riley's eyes filled. "Is there a question?" I was building toward it. "You are a project manager. It affects my pacing." She laughed. I lowered myself onto one knee. "Will you marry me?" Riley looked at the ring. Then at the bridge. Then at me. "Do I get my own office?" "Yes." "Separate bank account?" "Yes." "No forged emails?" That condition feels unnecessarily specific. "Ethan." "Yes." She held out her hand. "Yes." We married the following spring in a small ceremony beside the river. Lauren attended. Sarah sent flowers but did not come. Dana gave a toast about documentation. My mother cried through the entire ceremony. Riley walked down the aisle alone. Not because she had no one. Because no one was giving her away. After the wedding, a reporter from a local magazine asked whether our relationship began when I chose Riley over my wife. Riley answered before I could. "He did not choose me that night." The reporter looked confused. Riley continued. "He chose the truth. That gave both of us enough freedom to make a different choice later." At home, we framed no marriage certificate on the wall. The document remained inside a drawer with passports, insurance papers, and other important records. Marriage was not proof that either of us belonged to the other. It was a promise we intended to keep asking permission to renew. Sometimes people hear this story and focus on the night two women stood in my kitchen and asked me to choose. They expect a fantasy. A competition. A man rewarded with the better woman after the bad one was exposed. That is not what happened. One woman betrayed me. One woman became involved in that betrayal and then told the truth at enormous cost. I failed to see what was happening until the damage reached my own life. None of us emerged innocent. But innocence was never the same as integrity. Integrity was what we did after the truth removed every flattering explanation. Vanessa eventually built a different life. I hope it is honest. Riley built hers without asking permission. And I learned that reliability means more than staying. Sometimes it means leaving the room where every available choice is designed to keep someone else in control. The first night Riley slept in our new home, I woke at 2 in the morning and found her standing in the kitchen. For one panicked second, the old scene returned. The island. The envelopes. The demand to choose. Then Riley held up an apple. I can't sleep. I took a knife from the drawer and cut the apple into slices. We sat at the table in the dark, eating quietly while the refrigerator hummed and rain moved against the windows. No one was trapped. No one was performing. No choice waited like a weapon between us. Riley rested her head against my shoulder. Are you happy? She asked. I thought about the word. Happiness had once seemed like a stable house, a successful wife, and a life no one questioned. Now it felt quieter. A crooked bookshelf. A sketchbook filled with bridges. A woman who could say no without fear. A man who could hear it without punishment. Yes, I said. Riley took another apple slice. So am I. That was the choice that mattered.